when they went to the Queen to tell her her subjects had no bread. Do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of the Peasants Perspective. At 6:29, I was like, oh, Ron's not here. So I walked into the bathroom and then Ron showed up. So he's good, man. He can come in and within 2-3 minutes, he's up and loaded. We're live. There is no coordination between us before the show, I promise you that.
It's true.
We're still not popping up on YouTube here.
Huh.
What's going on? And on Rumble, we got one viewer, which is probably me. It's kind of embarrassing to say.
We got 3 somewhere.
3 collectively. Oh, it looks like we're popped up on YouTube now. Okay.
Let's try some messaging. Oh, gotta spell.
Oh, I see you there posting.
There we go. Pony boy.
Yeah, Pony boy. He
Morning.
made it. Awesome. All right. Well, then I'll just sit here and wonder why we have no viewers.
Do you know where Pony boy lives?
Texas.
Okay. Well, we'll probably never meet.
You're like, I don't leave 40 square miles from my house.
Yeah. Well, I don't know Texas.
I don't vacation out of the valley.
I don't know Texas, but my wife is from New Mexico, and it's too hot.
It's too hot. Not going there. Not going back. Huh? I love how you're just like, oh, then we'll never meet. Oh, man. Every single day during the Trump presidency, I am blown away at the amount of stuff that's going on. To start out today, I wanted to play this little comment. I don't even know who the background here. Okay.
Don't know who that is.
So this is Ben Bankas, Bankas, B-A-N-K-A-S. So he's got a funny little bit here about concentration camps and, you know, cleaning up crime. It's kind of funny. So let's just enjoy a little chuckle as we start the morning.
Trump was like, we're going to put all the homeless people in concentration camps. We'd be like, let's give it a shot. Do like a pilot project. Just pick one city, like Portland or Seattle.
Yeah, pick Seattle.
Tampa have a lot of homeless? No. All right, we'll just pick Tampa.
Tampa.
But the problem would be is then right after, it's a slippery slope, right? You walk around after all the homeless people will be taken away and be like, this is pretty nice. Who else? Be on high alert. Any little blip in society, like, oh, was that for the camps? Send you to camp. Don't do that, because we're good. You see somebody, a homeless person, just feel like, I'm letting that go. I'm letting that. When I go to vote for Donald Trump for a 3rd term, we won't. Liberals get triggered by that. What do you mean? We'll see.
So Well, I know when we play video with clapping and audience in the background, it doesn't come through great. But he's like, well, when we vote for Donald Trump, like right now when I see homeless people, I'm letting that happen. But when we vote for Donald Trump for a third term, we won't anymore. People freak out. And he's like, we'll see. That was
my favorite part. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It's good to have a laugh early in the morning. I'll tell you what, it feels like the Democrats kind of have one thing and one thing only. We're going to talk about that, and that's this Epstein hook. But there's also this video that I saw from Elon Musk, and there's a couple little parts of this I really thought were good. And I kind of want to make the beginning part of what he says here the theme. So let's go ahead and listen to this. Maybe we can.
Everyone's wrong, no matter who you are. Everyone's wrong some of the time.
Everyone's wrong, no matter who you are. Everyone's wrong some of the time.
Mostly true.
Yeah.
Most common error of a smart engineer is to optimize a thing that should not exist.
Yeah.
Why would people do that? Well, everyone's been trained in high school and college that you got to answer the questions, convergent logic. So you can't tell a professor your question is dumb, and you'll get a bad grade. You have to answer the question. So everyone's basically, without knowing it, they got like mental straitjacket on. They'll work on optimizing the thing that should simply not exist. Just make your requirements less dumb. Your requirements are definitely dumb. It does not matter who gave them to you. It's particularly dangerous if a smart person gave you the requirements, because you might not question them enough. No matter who you are, everyone's wrong some of the time. Then try very hard to delete the part or process. This is actually very important. If you're not occasionally adding things back in, you are not deleting enough. The bias tends to be very strongly towards, let's add this part or process step in case we need it. But you can basically make in-case arguments for so many things. Only the third step is simplify or optimize. The third step, not the first step. Finally, you get to step 4, which is accelerate cycle time. If you're moving too slowly, go faster. But don't go faster until you have worked on the other 3 things first. And then the final step is automate. Now, I have personally made the mistake of going backwards on all 5 steps. Multiple times. I automated, accelerated, simplified, and then deleted.
Lots of times people go backwards. So let's go back.
So expensive
let's
that
go
way.
back to a couple of these clips.
Smart engineer. Everyone's wrong some of the time.
Everybody,
Who you are, everyone's wrong some of the time.
No matter who you are, everyone's wrong sometime. Like that. Especially when you're dealing with government. Don't trust the experts. Man, this thing is being glitchy. As my kids would say. And then he also talks about this. He says, well, everyone's trained to answer the same question. It's convergence, right? You're fixing a problem that doesn't exist or shouldn't even be a problem. As I watch this, I'm reminded of Martha on the news telling JD Vance, it's just a couple apartments in Aurora, Colorado. And he's like, do you hear yourself? It's just a couple apartments. It shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be a premise of a question, right? How many apartments is enough? A dozen? 3 dozen? At what point do you care? Optimizing a problem that shouldn't exist. Well, we have a problem at the border. There's people stacking up. It's really bad. Okay, well, let's process it in faster. Hey, we've got kids in cages. We don't want them in cages. What should we do? We'll give them to the pedos. They'll take them off our hands. You know what I mean? Like, you get somebody there optimizing. Hey, maybe we shouldn't even have the kids at the border at all. What's drawing them here? Let's give Kamala Harris $1 billion to study the root causes. Okay, remember the whole, simplify thing? All right, so starting out talking about that this morning, now we're going to jump into more and more of this COVID stuff. This vaccine thing is coming out. This is Glenn Greenwald, and he's talking about kind of the fallout from the RFK hearings. RFK just got eviscerated, but he stood his ground. Like, nobody will look at that thing and think that the Democrats got one over on RFK. Like,
I don't know. What are you talking about? He got eviscerated.
A couple days ago, he had the hearings. We played some of the clips. Okay. And the Democrats they want him to resign. You're firing people.
My takeaway was different. I thought he was doing a great job.
He did do a great job. But what I'm saying is he got eviscerated. I mean, he got everything thrown at him. And he did a pretty good job of standing his ground. I mean, I think most of us can agree. But to think he stood his ground, you kind of have to buy into the premise that he's up to some good.
Oh.
You know what I mean? If you think that he's just firing everyone and he's just enacting his conspiracy theory plans, then the Democrats did what they were supposed to do. They got their sound bites making those accusations.
I guess I was drinking the Kool-Aid I thought he was doing a great job.
He did do a great job by our standard. By their standard, like, he didn't provide any answers. He doesn't even know how many people died of COVID. The Democrats don't hear the fact that
I just thought
neither
that those
do you,
people
sir.
and those questions were just retarded.
Well, of course we think they're retarded. That's why we do the show. We're being led by idiots. That's why we're here, man. The peasants can do a better job of analysis. So this is Glenn Greenwald talking about how RFK stood up to him and what RFK's main message is and how the Democrats are completely missing it.
The other thing I will say that's so interesting is that RFK Jr.'s primary critique of the health establishment is actually a very left-wing critique. It's been very popular among the left for a long time, which is that it looks as though it's being driven by scientific conclusion. In reality, these scientists are chosen and dominated by the drug companies who these scientists do the bidding for. So whatever product these drug companies want to be approved or want to be mandated, these scientists who are, in a lot of ways devoted to or controlled by the establishment of these drug companies does it. And RFK Jr. is saying we need to remove these drug companies from the regulatory process. They've captured the regulatory process, and we need independent minds here to separate themselves from the drug industry to make assessments, not based on the profit of the drug companies, but based on the actual health needs of the American people. And that is a critique that, for me, is extremely compelling. And it's even more compelling by the fact that we've watched for 5 years the worst epidemic of our lifetime. These scientists get pretty much everything wrong and lie constantly. And the fact that they still think they're entitled to permanent power status shows what the kind of entitlement mindset is of the Michael Bennett's of the world.
Yeah. Well said, Glenn. I bet you pre-wrote that.
Yeah, I would expand that.
Yeah. So, his RFK's argument is very compelling because there's certain things like here's Dr.
You mean like mercury and
McCary.
aluminum and
here's Dr. Like, should we be putting mercury into little babies? Well, I don't see why not. I mean, we gotta keep them from getting an STD like Hep B.
Yeah.
So this is Dr. Marty McCary. He was on with Marty.
Oh, you mean like Elon, the just in case?
Yeah, just in case. Just in case we don't know the STD status of the parent. We're at a hospital. Heaven forbid we run a test.
Right.
Or ask a question. Are you wildly promiscuous? You know what I mean? I don't know. Okay, so this is Dr. McCary, and he's on with Martha McCallum, and he's talking about the Hep B shot. And again, a lot of these doctors that RFK is surrounded with, they're in the camp of, we're not anti-vax, but we're kind of taking a look at the science. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem. And I think this is becoming more and more evident. There are no good vaccines. Okay. The concept is great.
Oh, yeah.
The concept is great. But once you introduce the regulatory problem where nobody's liable for vaccine injuries, where you have mandatory vaccine schedules, where there's a financial incentive to get a vaccine on the mandatory schedule so it can make some money, right? You've lost the whole plot. That's how you get into injecting aluminum and mercury and giving little babies a STD shot.
Yeah.
And we're going to wait for some buffering. It was almost going to be perfect. I was going to stop talking. He was going to start talking. And we'll just wait for the buffering.
Wow. Hold on.
Some days are worse than others.
Oh, shoot. We can't do an ad yet.
You'd think there wouldn't be any internet traffic at 6:30 in the morning, 6:45 in the morning.
Today in New York City, and the doctor is about to give her the Hep B vaccine. What would you advise that mother?
Look, I personally don't believe that the evidence is solid to say the Hep B shot needs to be given at birth. It's a sexually transmitted infection you're trying to prevent. Kids are not sexually active until they're of sexual age. So a lot of parents say, I'm going to wait until they're 10 or 11 or 12. And if the mom's Hep B positive, that's different. But these are nuanced issues. Now, it's a totally different issue from polio and measles and some of these other shots that are tried and true and been around for a long time. We believe in vaccines, but does that mean people need the anthrax vaccine?
Right.
No, it was a disaster. It was taken off the market. One of the rotaviruses, disaster, taken off the market. We've got tried and true vaccines, and we got vaccines like the COVID booster in young, healthy people that we can ask questions about.
Yeah. a baby today.
All they're
in New
trying
York
to do is
City.
ask
And the
questions about
doctor
these
is about-
vaccines. The problem is more and more they're finding the entire vaccine industry is a crock of crap.
And it's not really tried and true.
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, here's Dr. William Thompson. He openly admits the CDC lied to cover up the fact that MMR vaccine was associated with autism. We've known this information for a long time. These are your experts. This is your government.
Roll back in the time machine to August of 2014. That is when Bill Thompson made the admission that the CDC had lied and hid the fact that the MMR vaccine was associated with autism. Talking with Thompson as it unfolded felt like a spy movie. It led me to secretly record phone conversations with Dr. William Thompson, which I did in the state of Oregon because it's illegal to secretly record phone conversations in the state of California. Dr. Thompson freely admitted that he had covered it up, and his associates at the CDC had also covered it up.
Thimerosal causes autism-like features, and that's the way I would say it. I'm completely ashamed of what I did. The higher-ups wanted to do certain things, and I went along with it. Colleen is a center director. Frank is the director of immunization safety, and Marceline the branch chief. They're still all much more senior than me.
Dr. Julie Gerberding was head of the CDC at the time. Coincidentally, she went on to a lucrative career at Merck, the manufacturer of the MMR vaccine.
I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe we did what we did. But we did.
The director of the CDC goes on to work at Merck, where they approve this MMR vaccine to get put on the child vaccine list. And this doctor's like, we faked evidence and we know it causes autism-like symptoms.
Well, the note he said, or the note that was written on the screen said that they omitted statistically important information.
What was the quote you put on a fortune cookie? A half lie is or a half truth is a full lie, or something like that? Exactly. So Donald Trump posted this on his Truth Social yesterday. It is my belief that this vaccine regime is coming to an end. It says,
is there sound?
Immensely toxic.
Okay, so the caption here for those of you listening on audio, Donald Trump posted this. It's a little video caption. It says they're all poison, every single one, and the opening shot is of the doctor in a lab dealing with the vials.
It looks like he's going to
show them the thimerosal mass, which we keep in a metal container because we're a little afraid of it, and it's a very fine powder.
This is thimerosal, which is labeled very toxic, has cumulative effects, can cause damage to the kidneys, to the respiratory system, skin, to the nervous system. Specifically warns on here that it can cause reproductive and developmental toxicity, meaning that it can cause things like autism and other neurodevelopmental disorders. This is immensely toxic stuff. And this is what's in the vaccine. It's important to realize we're talking about a whole range of products. Vaccines are a big one because, of course, you're directly injecting it. For example, this is tetanus vaccine. This one expires, it's a little outdated now, in 2007. Here's the thimerosal. 1 to 10,000 is a preservative. Perhaps the biggest one in the U.S., at least, that's for exposure to mercury is the influenza vaccine. Influenza vaccine is now recommended for all pregnant women, all infants, all children on a yearly basis. You're supposed to have
last year's influenza. Understand that thimerosal is not added at the end. It's not like, well, that factory next year can make thimerosal free. Thimerosal, you either have to have a thimerosal free factory or you have to not have one. They add thimerosal at each step because the factory is not clean and not sterile. So you either have to have an expensive sterile factory where you don't need thimerosal, or you have to have one that produces thimerosal. It's going to need thimerosal or something the whole time. It needs to be stopped.
This is the influenza vaccine from Adventist Pasteur, their flu zone. Thimerosal, 25 micrograms of mercury per dose.
I'd like to point out that a lot of people didn't know. And I'm one of them. I've given 2,000 RhoGAM shots. I've been in vaccines for 35 years. I didn't know that RhoGAM had thimerosal in it. So I think a lot of the doctors were unaware. They were unaware that even the word thimerosal meant mercury.
Donald Trump posted that. Tetanus, flu, thimerosal, yay!
So you want to know what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been up to? Okay, here it is, folks. Trying to get rid of poison.
Yeah. Here we are. Like the president of the country just posted that. They're all poison.
Yeah.
We know some vaccines like polio, is what tried and true and tested, right? Wink, wink.
Maybe we could try.
If we could just pull the mercury out of them.
Population. Maybe just, I don't know.
Birth rate problems. Oh, look, one of the side effects of vaccines is reproductive problems. It's on the margins. We're just peasants, man. We're just peasants. Like, just let us farm our fields and go to work. Why you got to shoot us up with drugs? Like, I don't get it. There was okay, so this is actually very concerning. I got this yesterday, and the group that sent it to me, they're wanting to get active now. Like, we got to stop this. It's already passed. So this is in the state of Washington. It's House Bill 1531. And what it has in here is it basically is one of these, they're getting ready for the next emergency. So if the governor declares a health emergency, then consistent with this policy and subsection of this section, the state and local health officials must, within available resources, implement and promote evidence-based appropriate measures to control the spread of communicable diseases, including immunizations and vaccines. The state and its political subdivisions may not enact statutes, ordinance, rules, or policies that prohibit the implementation or promotion of such measures.
Now, this was new. This was something that our brand new governor put in place like 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's sitting on his desk to be signed.
Yeah.
So it's happening. Like, it's done. Like, he's not going to veto a bill that his Democrat party just pushed through.
I heard about this coming down, and I was like, oh, here we go.
So now at the state level, Ron, we are at high risk because they can come in and go, oh, you want to use your license or your engineering license? You got to have a vaccine. Oh, you want to submit something to the county? They can extrapolate this and make it any nonsense they want. And they just passed, in a non-time of people looking, this bill. So the next time we have one of these pandemics, heaven forbid, Washington State is not going to be a safe place for anyone.
Remember,
and they're all poison.
I think that we're probably too young to remember this, but there was a moment in history where the people in East Berlin could have just walked out.
Okay.
And then there was a wall that got built.
Yes.
And then you started needing papers.
I've asked people, like, when do you think it's time to leave? I don't know, probably when they start doing checkpoints into Idaho. I'm like, they did that. They did that. They made them porous, yes, but they created the precedent of checkpoints. You know what I mean? Like, this last COVID in 2020 was like a dry run. Let's see how far we can take it.
Yeah. And then now, don't get me started on this, man.
Now I got Big Ron upset. Oh no. Find an ad to read. That'll make you feel better. We'll make 72 cents. Okay. While he's finding an ad, I'll talk about this other. So the vaccine thing, you know, it's a day-to-day thing. We kind of beat the dead horse. It comes and goes in the news cycles, but it's a huge deal, right? You've got autism affecting what is it, 1 in 20 something kids, 1 in 20, 36 kids or something like that.
Now.
A lot. Yeah. Way more than you should. You've got all kinds of inflammation issues, chronic disease and illness that people young and old are dealing with. You have an obesity epidemic. It's not one vector. I mean, it's red dye 47. It's corn syrup. It's all of it's
all the food.
It's all the food. Yeah. It's like,
if it comes in a box and has pretty colors, probably shouldn't eat
bad
it.
For you. Yeah, exactly. You should stick to celery and steak.
How about we should all talk about maybe drinking some coffee?
Woo-woo.
Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the vitality mushroom coffee that for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic.
Heck no.
A froth stronger enough to stir up your coffee and mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if you're actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does.
You know what? A good coffee blend makes a big difference. So my wife and I are constantly playing around with different coffees and what's good.
Yeah.
We've got this like fancy machine that grinds the beans, puts them in the little thing. Like it's an all-in-one. Okay. Drives me absolutely nuts because single serve all-in-one. But we're constantly trying to find the right beans. 1775 coffee beans or coffee sounds amazing. I'm excited to try it. And if you're a coffee drinker, you're going to burn through $99 of coffee.
Oh yeah.
Seriously. Out in Rumble land in the chats, Ponyboy says, yeah, it's definitely too hot. He's in Texas. I went to Portland for a wedding and man, the weather was beautiful. Walked everywhere and we went and never broke a sweat. I was shocked. I sweat thinking of sweat. Yeah. I remember being in Missouri and being like, it's too hot here.
It does get too hot in Portland because in Portland, you kind of get a little bit of a smell that comes with it.
Yeah, Portland's a little inland. Seattle's a little bit nicer in that regard. Yeah. But yeah, we both have pretty good weather. We get a little more socked in. In Portland, it's either raining or blue skies. Here we get a lot of gray skies.
Yeah.
But yeah, Portland and Seattle have very similar weather. Very nice. Yeah, the Willamette Valley is beautiful. It's the most fertile farmland on earth. And Marizo says, mom's listening. Apparently that's my mom. That's fun. Isn't this a great family show? My mom and dad, even my grandpa checked in yesterday. Carlitos, good morning, fellow peasants. Welcome, welcome. We got both you and Ponyboy out in Texas. Okay, so Carrie Lake, who is she
related to Ricky Lake?
I don't know if she's related to Ricky Lake, but Carrie Lake, former TV host and two-time governor candidate for Arizona and one-time Senate candidate. Two-time governor candidate? Maybe once. Doesn't matter. Point is, Carrie Lake's working in the administration with Voice of America, and she's basically cleaning house. She's basically just firing everybody, restarting. But she's still in some active litigation, to my understanding, over her election losses. And she's been right at the front of kind of, seeing what's up with the Arizona elections. She says, did I read this right? Act Blue Smurf Bucks. Smurf Bucks are where you take a big donation and you break it up into small donations and pretend like someone else gave them. So I give $1,000.
So I got a bunch of $5 donors.
But I make it into 200 $5 donations from random people that are in our database. So Smurf Bucks funneled $38 million to Mark Kelly and $27 million to Ruben Gallego. That was her opposition with the big cartel connections, Mexico narco trafficker family. We need prosecution. So this is from Christopher Gleason. Well, the Act Blue stuff is starting to heat up. We have a partial short list of the RICO Smurf enterprise active participants and beneficiaries. Warnock, Ossoff, Dara Lindenbaum, Fairwright, Stacey Abrams, and the FEC are going to have a lot of explaining to do in the coming days. The FEC-GIG stands by and does nothing in spite of the overwhelming, irrefutable evidence of criminality being concealed and facilitated by the FEC. And you can expect to see lawsuits of biblical scale and scope getting filed, the likes of which nobody has ever seen. The beauty of this is it's the government's own data. It's self-certifying and self-authenticating. What you see here, folks, is a teeny-weeny, itty-bitty representation of how bad this is and is going to be for the Act Blue Democracy Rights Engine, the Action Network, Move On, the Soros family, Reid Hoffman, Pierre Omidyar, and the criminal enterprise called the DNS, DSCC, DCC et al. The level of cope will bring the whole thing crashing down. Then he's got some screenshots of the government database showing some of the smurfing and the big numbers. And it's mostly unintelligible to me. It's, computer screenshots. So I'm sure they'll figure it out in the court of law. Maybe. I say that, yeah. Maybe. Doug Wyatt, good morning. Welcome. Glad you made it with us. I love it. It just warms my heart when I see him on here. Doug was one of my J6 buddies. Spent great time with him in prison. So I remember Doug, I'm telling on you, buddy. So Doug gets to prison and he is hot. He and I have the same prosecutor. He comes in from solitary confinement, and you could feel the heat glowing on him. He was so mad about everything that had just happened to him in court and then going into solitary. He was like, you had to like stand 5 feet away because he was glowing with rage, okay? And after about a week, he calmed down, and we started talking, and we became good friends. But really, truly, Doug is, awesome guy. But Doug was always so excited to get to prison. He wanted to get out of jail. Jail, you're confined in this little block. You don't ever leave. It's very oppressive, okay? In jail, at least you have like a yard, and you can go for walks, and you can get a job and go be a slave laborer, sweeping or orderly. Like, you can do things to pass the time, right? And allegedly the food's better in prison. You know, most people say the only thing that's better about jail is you get more time on the phone, because when you go to prison, it switches to on the phone. In jail, you can make as many phone calls as you want. You pay for them, right? But you can make a phone call every 15 minutes for 15 minutes. Like, you can kind of talk to people. In prison, it's 10 minutes a day, period. So the communication drops off. So everything gets better once you've been sentenced and you're on to prison, because now you're just doing time, right? Whereas before, they're trying to pressure cook you into taking a deal. So we're in the pressure cooker, and Doug is just so excited to get to prison. And I'm like, I don't want to go to prison, because even though I hate this place, at least I can call home and talk to my family. So Doug, after he was sentenced, every week he's like, is this the week they take me? Is this the week they take me? And they didn't come for him, like 8, 9, 10 weeks, whatever it was. I got sentenced.
They probably saw him in there. They're like, we got to leave this
Yeah, so
guy.
the moment he came into jail, he was ready to leave because he'd already been sentenced. I was waiting for my sentencing. So I had 4 months that I wasn't leaving. So I got sentenced like on a Tuesday, and the next Monday I got shipped out, which is really fast. Usually it takes like 3 weeks. I got shipped out, and I was on the phone with my wife when all of a sudden, and to ship you out of jail, they come in and take your temperature to make sure you don't have COVID before they send you on the Marshall bus. And that's the signal you're leaving the next morning at 3 a.m. Right. So I'm on the phone with my wife, and they come in and they call Doug's name and my name. And I didn't hear it because I'm on the phone, like I said. And Doug looks over at me and he's like, Taylor, we're going to prison. Get out of here. Let's go. And he's like, let's go get our temperature taken. And I'm like, oh, I'm like on the phone with my wife, and this is probably going to be our last phone call for at least a couple days. And it, you know what I mean? Oh, I was dying. So that's Doug. So Doug, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
We're going to prison.
We're going to prison.
Like we're going to Disneyland.
What's funny is I'd be interested to hear his don't become the thing you hate, the words of the wise man. That is something I say all the time. Don't become the thing you hate, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, the thing, I'm curious, Doug, and you can answer this question, was prison better? Like, at the end of the day, was it actually better? Because in my opinion, I'd have rather, if I could have done my good time, like got my time off, I'd have rather done it in the gulag. At least I was with a bunch of J6ers and I could call home all day. And I had a tablet to watch movies, for all the bad that the gulag was. And prison was actually better, but in some ways it was worse. Okay. So this is John Solomon, and he's talking about there's now an open investigation into the investigators for not prosecuting crime.
To get in front of you from inside the FBI. Just the News has learned that the Bureau has opened an investigation under Director Kash Patel into whether its own agents obstructed or interfered with politically sensitive cases such as those involving Hillary Clinton, Hunter Biden, and President Trump. Now, think about this. Normally, the FBI is investigating other people, like witnesses who obstructed justice, but in this case, it's looking at their own people. Now, this follows all of the reporting we have done exposing the alleged improper behavior and actions from key officials around the Russiagate scandal, such as former FBI Director James Comer, former CIA Director John Brennan, as well as reporting we brought to you involving investigations to Hillary Clinton being stopped by both the FBI and the IRS. Remember that line? Shut it down. Sounds a lot like obstruction, doesn't it? Now the FBI is internally investigating. It all stems from material uncovered in prohibited access case files. So that's a wordful, but it's an FBI term for politically sensitive investigations that most agents aren't allowed to access, even when they're working on the case. They basically keep the materials off the books, which makes it hard for Congress to do its oversight authority. Now, we know all this because officials familiar with the matter told Just the News that some FBI employees memorialized concerns they had about conduct from FBI supervisors or or case agents. In fact, we got some of these memos. One of these memos involves the discovery of Anthony Weiner's laptop. And in that case, we now know that the deputy director, Andrew McCabe, in the fall of 16, knew about it in September, but slow walked it for a month alongside of other agents. Sources are telling us now that a grand jury has been impaneled to look at this, and that some of the evidence is going to be turned over in a bombshell notification to Congress later this month.
Finally.
But they're still not indicting Anthony Weiner. Okay. I guess in a world of like we're living in, if you can at least indict the guys who covered up the crime, I guess we're like halfway there. You think at some point they'd go back and get the crime too,
It's
right?
a start.
Yeah, it's a start. You got to get rid of the obstructors first before we can go and actually get to the thing they obstructed justice for.
Yep.
The unfortunate thing is their plan worked. And a lot of these things, the statute of limitations ran up. So now if they're going to be held accountable, they got to get kind of creative with how they do it. In this particular case, these particular people are part of that grand conspiracy. So their crime hasn't ever really stopped. Every time Andrew McCabe gets on TV and bloviates about his situation, he's continuing the cover up. He's not owning up to it, as the courts would say. You have to own up to it. You have to, if you take a plea deal and then get on the radio and say that your plea deal was bogus, they hold that against you. So same thing here. If you're continuing to talk about your crime and acting like it wasn't a crime and they prove it was a crime, they'll hold that against you. So very, very interesting. Again, Doug reminded me, don't become the thing you hate. I don't want to be excited for this, but at the same time, my whole premise, my whole life is if you're going to enforce a rule, enforce it on everybody. I have a distinct memory of being a teenager and some drama happened in the family and everybody was in trouble, right? Me, my older sister, not my older sister, my sister is just younger than me, and my younger brother, we were all in trouble. Like, all three of you did very bad thing. Okay. And the punishment needed to be a spanking. And we're like teenagers. Like, I'm probably 14 at this point. Okay? This is probably the last time my mom broke out the belt for me. Spanking wasn't a big part of her life, but it was a viable option. Okay. So I've had the wooden spoon, I mean, I'm an old kid. Right. So I remember my mom was like, well, I wasn't that guilty. Like, I probably could have avoided a spanking, and I feel horrible saying this because of who my brother is and his soul. But I was like, my brother really needed a spanking. Okay? So I was willing to let the punishment be meted out on me to make sure he got the punishment too, because he really was the one that caused the trouble. And I can't remember what it was, but I remember being like, if I have to take a whooping so he gets a whooping, I'll take my whooping, right? That's kind of how I feel about this. I took my whooping. I subjected myself to be held accountable. Guess what, McCabe? It's time to face the music. I walked into it. I turned myself in. I walked in. I didn't argue the things you guys said that was nonsense. And by you guys, I mean the government. Guess what, McCabe? Guess what, Comey? Guess what, Brennan? Guess what, Clapper? Guess what, Obama? You get to have the measure held against you that you held against us. I got 7 years for shaking a gate. Now, that county assessor, she only got 10 years for stealing $40 million. But I mean, it's here nor there. Right? You should spend some time probably behind bars for what they've done. Don't want to be the thing I hate, but at the same time, there's got to be some accountability and some parity in those things. It's just the way it is. So Donald Trump was yesterday went to the Bible Museum, and this was a beautiful thing for Donald Trump to go to the Bible Museum. He talked extensively about restoring the Bible to America. He talked about faith in America. He talked about restoring prayer to schools and how he's signing an executive order, and they're going to be providing guidance and funding.
Where is the Bible Museum?
It's in D.C.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he actually took his family Bible that his mother gave to him that he swore in twice on, and it's now going to be at display at the Bible Museum right in the middle of D.C. So very, very cool. This was a neat thing for him to go and do the speech there. And during his speech, like anything he does, he has just tons of clips. This was one of the clips he has about trying to negotiate with the left.
Cashless bail, and you try and reason with people like in Chicago with the governor and the mayor. You try and reason with them, and it's like you're talking to a wall. It's just I assume it's just a political ideology. They're not stupid people. Must be an ideology that's just buried in their head and you can't do a damn thing about it. And we'd love to go into Chicago and straighten it out. You know, Washington, D.C., you'll be happy to know, is a free and safe zone. It's so safe right now. It was one of the most dangerous. Can you believe it? So, you know, you see the beautiful buildings, but we're going to also do an upgrade because a lot of the beautiful buildings have a little graffiti on them. They have roads that aren't proper. They have medians that are bad and falling down into the road, the dividers. We have things that we have to take care of and beautify. We want to beautify it. Very little work will be done. I'm very good at that. That's what I really did the best in life, probably. I said, was I a better builder or politician? They said, I think you were a better builder, sir. I said, I didn't know if I was happy about that or not. Cashless bill, and you try and reason with people like in Chicago.
In fact, in this speech, at one point, he goes, he was self-deprecating. He goes, I don't know, it's pretty good for like a narcissist, or he said something to the effect of like, you know, me, I always like to praise myself or something like that. It was kind of funny. So there's an ideology that he sees in the left. He just can't negotiate with the people. It's like they're dumb. It's buried deep within. Later on, and I'll play the clip later, he talks about woke is dead. This is Amy Coney Barrett, and she's being interviewed by Norah O'Donnell. She had 2 interviews yesterday, one with Brett Barron, one with Norah O'Donnell, obviously pre-recorded because she was wearing a different outfit both times. Doug Wyatt, he says, Danbury was not so bad. You know, what's funny, Doug, is I get messages from time to time through our mutual friend, John, and the wives that would talk. And I'd hear about, you know, you used a cell phone and got a shot or something. And, you know, I'd hear like, you know, all the worst things that were happening to you. You know, you didn't really like working in the carpentry shop or something like that. So my impression of your time at Danbury was pretty rough. But then again, you know, I'm literally getting messages passed through the prison, you know, system. So who knows? It's all like cloaked. All right. So
anytime that I was in a bad spot in my life where I thought, you know, things couldn't be any worse, I would always remember this story about a deep sea diver. And, you know, deep sea divers, they have inlet tanks or inlet hoses where they run fresh water in to keep their tanks or to keep their suits warm. Well, this one time, the inlet for this hose that would run this warm water into this guy's suit got a bunch of really dangerous and really stingy jellyfish in it. Ooh. And it got into his suit and it started attacking all of his mucous membranes, wherever those are. And it takes like 3 hours to get them out. So he was in that suit for about 4 hours getting attacked by jellyfish in this suit. So when they finally got him out, man, that dude is in rough shape. His butthole was... and so I think, you know, things could be worse.
You know, I thought of that in prison all the time. I had, I got explained 4-point restraint and how they can basically, you know, tie you up. And
it's kind of like a drawn quarter thing.
Yeah. I learned about 4-point restraint. And then I learned about 10 building where I was at, which was the psych ward, being civilly committed and getting essentially a chemical lobotomy. And then the other thing that I learned about was just how life happens while you're still in prison. There's one inmate that I was really good friends with that one day we were walking around the track and he told me his wife died while he was in there. And, you know, how do you know, he's got 5 years left on his sentence. His wife died, you know, and then another guy, and I might've mentioned this before, but he had like a 10-year sentence and he got in a fight early on in his sentence, went to the hole, lost some good time. He lost like, you know, 3 weeks of good time. Well, 1 week before he was set to be released after having lost 3 weeks of good time, so he's 2 weeks delayed, right? 1 week before he's set to be released, his wife and 3 children all died in a car accident. And here he is. He could have been home, right? He could have been with them. They could have been in a different spot. He could have at least been in the car with them. Yeah. But instead, that happened. So it can always get worse. So just keep your head up. All right, this is Amy Coney Barrett talking to Norah O'Donnell, and she's talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Norah O'Donnell is bringing up, you got kind of catty with Ketanji Brown Jackson in one of your motions. This is where Amy Coney Barrett said that Ketanji Brown Jackson is essentially saying we don't want an imperial presidency, but we want an imperial judiciary. It kind of came down on her like that. So this is her responding to that. And again, Amy Coney Barrett is recognizing the same thing Donald Trump's recognizing. You're not going to fix these people's ideology.
And I may read for those what Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, she dissented. And she accused the majority of which you're a part of, in her words, hastening the downfall of our government institutions. And she wrote in her dissent, a Martian arriving here from another planet would see these circumstances and surely wonder, what good is the Constitution then? Will your decision embolden the executive to act more as a monarchy than a democracy, as Justice Jackson suggested?
So Justice Jackson wrote an opinion speaking only for herself, and she made a spirited argument, and so I thought it merited a spirited response.
But you did mention her by name. Is that notable?
Well, the only reason why I mentioned her by name is because it was a solo dissent.
And I may read.
Okay. Do you know how big a deal that was for a Supreme Court justice?
I don't.
It's a big deal.
Okay.
It got catty, right? It got catty. This idea, she's like, I named her by name because she said something stupid, right? She wrote an independent appeal, so she named her by name. That is not something they usually do. But I think what's going on with the justices is they're having the Tucker Carlson moment like he did here with Mark Cuban. It's the inconsistencies all the time. It's your logic makes no sense. Your ideology makes you fix things that aren't problems, right? And it makes you do it with other people's money, other people's time, other people's energy. Here's a great example of this. Mark Cuban and Tucker Carlson are sitting on a couch together doing an all-in podcast summit. And Mark Cuban goes off on helping Ukraine and, we should help Ukraine. Listen to this exchange.
Mark, let me ask you a question. What's your take on whether we should be sending money to Ukraine or not? Were you in favor of that?
Man, they need it.
I mean, honestly, I don't have a good answer. I can make an argument both ways, and half my family is Ukrainian from my grandparents. And so, personally, I think we should help. But I don't have a studied answer for you.
How much money have you sent to Ukraine?
None.
Oh, so what do you mean by we? You're the one whose family's from Ukraine. Like, why don't you send them $1 billion?
Because I'm trying to fix healthcare.
Well, why don't you fix their healthcare if you're like so deep? If you think we need to help, why don't you start? How about you first? Yeah. I notice that's never like even an option for anybody. It's like, we need to help. That's not what charity is. Forcing other people to help is not charity.
Here's the good
vanity.
News. The good news is all the weapons were on loan lease. We're getting it back. And our dear President Trump has negotiated that we own half the minerals. So he turned this horrible tragedy of a war into a profit center, which is one of his unique gifts. I think we can all agree.
But how much money have you sent? Well, I think we should send money. Well, how much did you send? I'd like to match your contributions. Oh, I haven't sent anything yet. Oh, okay. Freaking liar! Your ideology is broken. You want to collectivize your charity instead of just being charitable. I don't like that too much. I don't think that's going to work for us. Okay, so now on to the Epstein thing. Catherine Austin Fitts, I have to remind everyone, Catherine Austin Fitts says that they can take Epstein out by the end of the year they can take Trump out with this Epstein thing by the end of the year. Now, Epstein is not a hoax. What Epstein did is not a hoax. Weaponizing this after all Donald Trump's done to fight human trafficking, fight trafficking in general, and fight this cabal of people, which is the same freaking people all the way back from the Wiener laptop cover up to this Epstein thing. It's the same cabal of people that have kind of been behind all the nefarious activity. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, Donald Trump's and it's in his black book. Donald Trump wrote him a letter in 2000 something, right? Well, here's the letter. So now, Epstein's birthday book has now been delivered to Congress. And this is that whole letter that they were freaking out. There's a little poem here, some stupid poem with Donald Trump's signature. Okay. So Ro Khanna gets on the news because Ro Khanna and Massey, they're teaming up. They're big boyfriends now. And they're going to be talking about Trump and this Epstein drama. And again, what's Trump have to hide?
Breaking news out of Washington, the House Oversight Committee just received files from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. A Democratic spokesperson says committee Democrats are reviewing hundreds of documents handed over to the committee, and they have just released that body drawing allegedly drawn by President Trump for Epstein's 50th birthday. Here it is. The Wall Street Journal was first to report on it a few months ago, and today we're getting a first look at it. Joining us now, staff writer for The Atlantic and MSNBC political contributor Mark Leibovich, the Bulwark senior reporter Will Sommer, host of the Bulwark podcast, and an MSNBC political analyst, Tim Miller. Mark, I know you are thrilled and honored to be on the show today to get a first glimpse of this.
Woo! You know, it's happening in real time. First of all, I'm always thrilled and honored to be on the show, Katie. This is, I mean, we've had the wording on this before. We've sort of had a general sort of contours of what this is before. This is actually sort of the physical. This is actually it. We are seeing this. It's unclear whether the needle will move any more than it already has. But obviously, look, I mean, Donald Trump has said that this doesn't exist. This, what I can tell, looks like it exists. So start with that. We'll see, you know, if this propels the story any faster, any greater time than it will. Although I suspect that there will be other things that we didn't know before that are going to be coming out in the probably next few days.
Now, keep in mind,
so serious.
At the beginning, it was showing Donald Trump's signature. The signature doesn't really match. I mean,
no.
Donald Trump, you know. I don't give a crap.
I don't either.
I don't care. So a rich guy sent another rich guy a birthday saying that the assistants probably put together. I don't care that much, right? I especially don't care after the 10 years of lawfare that you've waged against Trump. All of a sudden, now you pull out this Epstein letter.
This is like the dumbest story ever.
No. Well, here's Ro Khanna having his chance. I introduced the last video wrong. But this is the video I should have been introducing. This is Ro Khanna talking about it.
Okay.
And he's big mad at JD Vance because JD Vance says, you know, oh, this thing doesn't even exist. Well, what is this then that was just delivered by the Epstein estate years after he died when they're trying to, I don't know, hold on to a lottery ticket they stuffed into a trust? You know what I mean? Like, do you really believe the estate? Like, of course they have motive to bring in Donald Trump stuff. And notice when Ro Khanna here, as he gets going, he says the first thing the attorneys looked for. What did they look for? The first thing, not, you know, trips of Bill Clinton or Prince Andrew or other maybe nefarious actors that are still continuing the blackmail/trafficking scheme. No, they wanted to know where the Trump stuff was.
Of course.
Well, candidly, the lawyers are still going through it, and they first looked for the birthday book. Obviously, they found the letter that the Wall Street Journal reported on. I think the Vice President Vance, should be asked to retract what he said, defaming the Wall Street Journal reporter. He said it was fake. Now we have the letter. And I also hope that the lawsuit will be withdrawn against that journalist. $10 billion lawsuit now that there is the letter.
So, you know.
Well, candidly, the lawyers are still going.
Remember, Trump is so adamant that this thing is fake that he sued the Wall Street Journal and Fox News, right? Murdoch directly. But now we have the letter.
Can't you see it? It's right in front of your face. Look at it. Just look at it. It's real.
I literally watched the government manufacture evidence in my case. I have never had a Twitter page that was at @PeasantsPod_. Okay. Right. The FBI got up. They got a subpoena from Twitter for all of my social media accounts. Okay. Got up and verified. Where did you get this thing? I got it from the subpoena. Okay. And what did you do? I went through the subpoena and I gathered up this information. And what vanity name? @PeasantsPod. And what did he say? Light up DC, right? Okay. And then what about this one? Where'd you get this one? Oh, this vanity name is @PeasantsPod_. I'm like, objection. I've never had an underscore in anything ever. Don't use them, right? Never had a vanity name with an underscore, ever, let alone at the end, right? It's clearly a duplicate account or something. Where'd you source it? The Wayback Machine. Oh, so not from a subpoena. You went to the Wayback Machine. So it's not even on Twitter. It's on the Wayback Machine, right? And it's like, you just made that up. You just made that up. You don't think they could just make this up? Hey, we need an old thing that has Donald Trump's name on it. Go find something. Okay.
It looks like a letter drawn with a crayon by a kid. I mean,
it's not even. I don't know, man. We gotta be careful.
I don't know. Those 3 lines on that card were turning me on.
Woo! Okay. Now, we got to be careful, though, because, Brian Stelter, he was on CNN, and he's talking about how, the Republicans are always, Republicans pounce. They're always capturing these news stories and taking them overblown. And, we don't ever do that ourselves. Well, I don't know if you've been following the news, but there was this vicious, ugly murder on a bus in Charlotte, North Carolina.
No, I don't know anything about it.
South Carolina? Charlotte. Oh, dude. So black guy sitting on a bus, dreads, right? He's been in and out of jail 14 times. Apparently in January, the judge, some other black lady who sits on some other board that helps people that are in whatever, total conflict of interest to be a judge. He promised verbally that he would return for his court date. So she let him out cashless bail. Okay. 14 convictions.
Oh.
14. Gets out, sits on the bus, this Ukrainian refugee who literally came here from Ukraine since the onset of the war, little white skinny girl, very pretty, sits down on the bus. She's working at a pizza shop hourly.
Okay.
Gets on the bus to go home. She's sitting there quietly on her cell phone. Black guy behind her pulls out a knife, reaches around and stabs her in the neck. Just cold-blooded, no interaction between the two of them, just stabs her multiple times, blood everywhere. No one on the bus does anything. They just watch this girl bleed out, and this guy starts walking around with blood dripping off him and his hand and the knife, and gets off the bus and goes, I killed that white girl. I got that white girl. I got that white girl. So this has caused outrage, but the news wouldn't cover it. Because why? Because here you have a black guy doing it. Here you have a guy who's been let out on cashless bail, and we're in the middle of, military in the streets of D.C. to clean up this kind of crime. And this specific thing, this guy is a repeat offender. Okay. He's not stopping his criminal behavior all the way to cold-blooded murder. And then you've got a white girl who can't just be blamed for being a legacy American. Oh, she deserved it because of the history. She's from Ukraine. She's a refugee herself, a legitimate asylum seeker. Okay. So the news doesn't want to cover this, but Brian Stelter, after it's made its rounds on the media, and I know a lot of people listening have seen the images. I don't want to play it. It's gruesome. Makes me feel sick. It's the reason why I get nervous having a daughter out in the world. It's why I hate having it when my wife goes anywhere without me in the evenings, right? And we live in a semi-safe place, except for, that officer down in Bremerton or that fake felon that was impersonating an officer. Heaven forbid my wife be pulled over by someone like that, right? So this is Brian Stelter talking about why the Republicans finally jumped on this story.
This actually happened last month. It only gained national news attention here in the past couple of days. Why is that?
Right. Most murders in the U.S. never become national news. This one's garnered attention for a couple of reasons. Number one, first and foremost, the recent release of that gruesome video. Second, the energy from pro-Trump activists. They picked up on this video from local news and ran with it. It's a little bit like the times when civil rights groups have raised attention about police-involved shootings. In this case, it is Trump-aligned influencers who are posting up a storm about this case on social media. Really, over the weekend, Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk, other Trump-aligned figures succeeded in making this senseless death a symbol of big city crime. We heard President Trump asked about it yesterday when he was heading home from New York City. He didn't seem to know much about it. He said he would get briefed. And then today, Trump did know all about it. That's exactly what has happened here. This story has trickled up from local news to social media and now to the president's attention. And it's being used, as you said, Brianna, as a political symbol, with MAGA media calling for more forceful punishments and more incarceration. I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around this story are baldly racist, stoking fear of African Americans because this man attacked a white woman. The open racism on sites like X today, it's eye-popping. But there are also legitimate questions about this so-called career criminal, someone who had been a repeat offender. And those questions, I hope they're not lost amid all of the cesspool kind of comments on social media.
See, the problem is you're Brian, it's a black guy. It's funny. Last night I was asking my son about someone at a swim meet. And I was like, the other white guy. Yeah. And he looked at me. It's like, it was so funny. I was like, I remember the first time someone was like, yeah, the other white guy. Now it's baked in, but yes, it's a black man. But the problem is he's a repeat offender, right? Oh, he killed a white woman. Yeah. And there's nothing good about this story for the Democrats.
No,
nothing good about this story. They cannot win. Oh, dude, I saw a Rogan thing. It was so funny. I didn't cover this because I thought it was kind of like a go nowhere piece, but Donald Trump is calling for taking away guns from transgenders.
I saw that.
And Rogan broke it down because he's like, you're forcing Democrats now to defend gun rights. I'm like,
so good.
It's a go nowhere. Like, I don't care. We're not taking guns from anybody. Okay. Like, that's my position. So for Trump to do that, clearly he's probably not going to be a gun grabber. But now he's put Democrats in this. You can't take away transgender guns, only white cis males. Okay. On the chats, Pray the Rosary Daily. Good morning. Anti-Socialist League. The federal government has been faking evidence against Trump since he came down the golden escalator. These people are desperate freaks in search of a new shiny object because they are out of options. 100% agreed. She wanted to be a vet system. This referring to the Ukrainian. It is a symbol of big city crime, Stelter. Pony Boy, you can hear the beta in that CNN reporter's voice. Yes. Debs keep trying to spin it. Yeah, Stelter is as beta as they come. I'm sorry. Okay, so Donald...
Maybe we could use a little bit, something to cool ourselves down.
Yeah, what can cool us down?
All right, outdoor crew. If you're into fishing, camping, or getting off the grid, meet your new best friend, the Hunter Orange 25-quart cooler from Caddis Sports. This isn't your average cooler. It's roto-molded for max durability, bear-proof, and 20% lighter than other brands. So it's easy to haul, whether you're deep into the backcountry or just setting up at the dock. You'll get up to 3 days of ice retention thanks to thick, high-performance insulation. That means cold drinks, fresh food, and fewer ice runs. Whether you're chasing muttons offshore or posted up at the campsite. Best part, it's 40 to 50% cheaper than the big-name coolers, but still built to perform season after season. And like all Caddis Sports name brand gear, it's proudly made in the USA. Use code RUMBLE at checkout for 10% off your order today. That's caddissports.com. Go grab the Hunter Orange 25-quart cooler and keep your next adventure ice cold.
Oh, yeah, ice cold. Speaking of ice cold, Stephen Miller has ice running in his veins.
Yes.
He gets on Fox News last night, and unlike Brian Stelter, who's like, well, I don't know. I mean, Republicans pounce, and they're making Twitter's just full of vile, racist comments. And then you've got Stephen Miller getting to the heart of the matter.
The Democrat Party, Sean, is terrorizing the American people. Just think about what is happening in our major cities, the bloodbaths every single weekend. One victim after another, one shooting after another, one murder after another. When you have Democrat politicians like Pritzker and Newsom that are freeing illegal alien pedophiles, illegal alien child abductors, illegal alien murderers back into our streets to kidnap people, to beat them senseless, to stab them and shoot them to death, this is terrorism being waged against the American people. And then you look at that video that chills our very souls out of Charlotte, that beautiful young woman stabbed to death, murdered savagely on a subway, just trying to get home from work, fleeing war, only to run into a Democrat war zone here in our country. That monster, 14 prior arrests in and out. The Democrat policies of catch and release for barbarians and savages is truly an act of terror, Sean, against the American people. It cannot be explained unless you deeply, fundamentally hate America.
It goes back to what
the Democrat Party, Sean, is terrorizing the American.
You cannot reason with these people. It's like their brains are broken. They have a sick ideology. Trump went on to mention this about this beautiful loss.
Who are truly, there are evil people. We're all people of religion, but there are evil people, and we have to confront that. I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. Just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country. And I created the first.
One of the things I remember having a conversation with a nephew one time who was like, oh, you just give the benefit of the doubt and violent crime, blah, blah, blah. And I want to be able to go backpacking through the Middle East and all this stuff. Well, right as he was saying that very week, there were two backpackers from Europe that were down in Morocco, and they got murdered, raped, just horribly abused, you know, and they were from this liberal family that really had this perspective that you'll be fine. Like, just be good, you know, and just cast out charity and don't judge people. And
we're Democrats. We can go anywhere.
And meanwhile, it turns around and bites you in the butt. I can honestly say I did not comprehend evil until I went to prison. And I really thought I did. You know, I've watched some X videos of, you know, fights, and I went down the rabbit hole of child sex abuse and, you know, Epstein this, and you kind of have this idea in your head of what murder can look like and what it's not so much what murder looks like. Like, the act is one thing, and people make a mistake. You know, you run someone over with your car. Oh my gosh, what a mistake. It's gruesome, horrible, traumatizing, right?
Right.
But this idea of interacting with cold-blooded killers, like in that video, seeing that guy stab her, I'm like, I've sat next to people who've been accused of those similar things or did those things, right? And to just have a normal conversation with them, but then realize something is broken. Like, their logic button doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, the cause and effect. One of the things I've noted in prison was a lot of people in here don't have cause and effect. Like, they have very little impulse control and very little reality of what happens if. You know what I mean? They're just super concerned about this moment. It's kind of scary. We don't have an answer to those problems, but to the people that don't recognize it, our government leaders who think that things like restorative justice and, well, all that, you know, comes with a certain amount of goodwill and things like that. If you take it too far and you don't take crime off the street, you end up with what's going on in Arizona.
There's a price for society.
There's a price for society. So this is Katie Hobbs, who cheated her way into a governorship over Kari Lake, right? Who is soft on crime. She had this little really annoying voice. Well, she was on a radio show in Arizona, and they just kind of confronted her with this. Hey, how did we go from the safest state in the union to the 47th safest state on your watch? And she was speechless.
I want to play one more from Robeson. She hits you on the Arizona economy, and I want you to have a chance.
I said crime. This is the economy.
What you think? Here we go.
I think when the voters focus in on the general election, you know, Katie Hobbs is going to have to defend a record that's been disastrous. Just on the economy, for example, we went from number 1 in the nation before she took office to number 47. I mean, it's just been a precipitous decline in job growth and job creation.
1 to 47.
I'm not clear what those numbers are referencing. They could be anything.
Headline: in Arizona is near dead last in job growth. What went wrong?
Clear what those numbers are referencing. They could be anything.
Under Hobbs, Arizona went from 4th in the nation for job growth to 47.
Clear what those numbers are referencing. They could be anything.
Arizona's economy hits turbulence.
Clear what those numbers are referencing. They could be anything.
Alarming Arizona employment trends continue under Katie Hobbs. What else does Katie Hobbs not know about Arizona?
It's hot.
Continuous headlines. I don't know where they're getting this data. Could be the employment data. Again, it's an ideology. They don't care. Joe Scarborough had on, what's this guy's name? I can't remember his name. He's one of these black pundits that gets onto MSNBC frequently and bloviates. And he's from Princeton, and he's talking about, you know, crime and how we just, you know, what Trump's doing is wrong. And Joe Scarborough, remember, he was a Republican. He kind of has this bead on what normal people like, but at the same time, it's my opinion, he's highly compromised. And so anyways, he kind of makes a good point to this guy about crime and how I don't think that people want anti-cop. I don't think people don't want cops in the street. I think they want more of it.
Let's think about policing differently as we try to address an issue of safety, which every community deserves. Does that make sense?
It does. Joe, take it.
Well, but the thing is, you talk about how cops on the streets won't make a difference. I will tell you that one poll after another has suggested otherwise. When you speak to Black Americans, when you speak to poorer Americans, there's a Washington Post poll that we've talked about quite a bit over the past past several weeks since we talked about additional troops in Washington, D.C., and that is 91% of D.C. residents said that crime was a serious problem. The people that said crime was a very serious problem overwhelmingly were black residents. Those who said it was not a serious crime predominantly were white, rich residents. And the demographic who said that crime was the biggest problem were black women. I go back to 2020 when there were a lot of hipsters talking about defunding the police, a lot of political activists talking about defunding the police. You can find New York Times articles in real time about communities predominantly with people of color in some of the poorest and most dangerous parts of New York City. And their city councilmen and city councilwomen were saying, defund the police. What are you talking about? We need more police on the streets. We need more safety officers in our school. We need more police officers making sure our children and our mothers can walk to school and walk to work without being stopped by gang members. So I guess that's my question back to you. When you're speaking generally about this, are you speaking as an academic? Are you speaking as somebody who reflects these communities who say we live in a dangerous city? I know rich white people in Georgetown may feel more comfortable, or in Northwest Washington may feel more comfortable, but in Southeast, we don't feel more comfortable. We want more cops.
No, Joe, I'm not just speaking as an academic. I'm speaking as a black man who has been reared in the United States with a deep-seated suspicion about whether or not police actually are engaged in protecting our communities, right? Having had the talk from a young man, from a young boy. So there's not this relationship to the police that you're presupposing. And let me just say this, I think.
No. I'm not presupposing.
Let me just make this point.
Hold on, Addie. I'm not presupposing anything. I am giving you data. And by the way, are you living the same experience that you're talking about, that we've talked about on this show for 18 years with you and Gene Robinson and everybody else? But is your experience in Princeton the same as somebody's in Anacostia?
Of course not. Of course not. There are class differences. There are class differences that
I live in a super safe community, but I don't trust the cops, so I just want to project out that we should just get rid of them. Because in my community, we could get rid of the cops and we'd probably be just fine. At least Joe got to the bottom of it. It's kind of shocking. Well, I'm a black man and I don't trust cops. Yeah, but you live in a safe area, so you can have the defund police thought, and it probably won't affect you. But it desperately affects people like he was saying on the southeast side of D.C.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Okay, Supreme Court yesterday had two really big decisions. One of them was that Trump could fire FTC members, which bodes very poorly for Lisa Cook. She getting fired. The second thing is they said that Trump could continue the deportations and could basically send roving bands out to go to anywhere that there might be illegal immigrants. And even CNN is like, yeah, there's not much that can be done with this now.
Know that the mayor of Boston has suggested there might be a lawsuit seeking to stop some of what ICE is doing, but there's really nothing that state and local authorities can do legally to prevent a federal law enforcement agent like ICE from doing its business. ICE, like the FBI or ATF or DEA, has essentially nationwide jurisdiction, and there's no legal way that the mayor of Boston, for example, can stop ICE from coming into Boston and making immigration arrests any more than they could stop DEA from coming into Boston and making drug arrests. So I understand there's political issues here and issues about public safety, but legally, there's really very little that the locals can do.
Okay, so I think we might have jumped the final hurdles. Time for that mass deportations. Pray the Rosary Daily says, I think Morning Joe and Mika are left on air for comic relief. I don't think so. I think people take them deadly serious. Mm-hmm. I think that it goes with what Donald Trump was saying, is like, you talk to some of these people and their ideology, it's broken, right? Donald Trump mentioned how in his Bible Museum speech, he talked about how the last regime was especially vicious, and he mentioned January 6ers, and it's not over for the January 6ers either, folks.
It was a very mean administration. He's a mean guy, actually, not a smart guy, never was. And he knew enough about what was going on. Biden, they were mean people. What they did to people, what they did to J6, what they did to so many people, they were mean people. His administration was one of the meanest we've ever had. They were bad. They did tremendous disservice to this country.
They were mean people. And I can say that for sure. They were very mean. They were not nice. The way they treated me and my friends, they were very mean. Now, the Republicans have formed a January 6th committee. And the idea of this January 6th committee is it's going to go basically investigate the last January 6th committee and try to get to the bottom of January 6th. Unfortunately, I have about zero amount of trust and faith in the Congress to really do anything other than put on another show. I don't know what they're going to do here. Part of me feels like they're still going to try to throw the protesters under the bus while vindicating Donald Trump, or they're going to try to, I just don't trust anything. But Hakeem Jeffries has now put together the Democrats that are going to be sitting on this J6 select committee that's now being run by the Republicans. And he put on Jamie Raskin as the ranking chair. That stinks. Jamie Raskin was on the last one, and Jamie Raskin he's a rascal. Let's just put it that way. Not my favorite. They put on Representative Swalwell and Jasmine Crockett. Awesome. Okay. Now, Swalwell had a little something to say.
Is this like 5D chess?
This is just theater.
This is dumb.
Yeah, this is theater.
To designate.
And now keep in mind, look at the at this point, everyone's going to have a bias. So I can't even say they're supposed to come into this neutral.
Just look at the screen and go, oh, these are my people.
Oh, yeah, these are my winners. Yeah.
Congressman Eric Swalwell, as the ranking member, the lead Democrat on this subcommittee, and the House Democratic Caucus will be in good hands with Congressman Swalwell, with Representative Jasmine Crockett, and Representative Jared Moskowitz, all with the steady hand of ranking member Jamie Raskin. I yield now to my good friend, the Congressman from the great state of California, Eric Swalwell.
Since the Civil War, what are the three most important dates in American history?
My
December
birthday.
7, 1941, September 11, and January 6. The last two, I didn't even have to give you the years because they are seared into our memories.
Damn straight, they're seared into my memory. I got about a 4-year stain in my brain from that one. Oh, great. My Al Qaeda friend, when the government put me in prison, they put me in with a real terrorist, my Al Qaeda friend, right? And he goes, for better or worse, man, you're in the history books now. The days that will live in infamy. Yeah. All right, guys, it's time for us to jump over to private. I asked my wife yesterday, did you catch the show? And she's like, yes, I did. And every day, I just love it. She loves the show. The show's basically for her, my mom, my dad, apparently my grandpa. It's a family business. Okay. Anyways, she said she loves the show so much. But every day when we switch over to private, she just feels so hurt, like the conversation gets missed. And then, of course, she calls me. She's like, so what'd you cover on private? Like, honey, you're going to have to subscribe to Rumble Premium. You can't just leave us out there in the, you're going to have to do the thing like everyone else.
Shameless plug.
Yes, absolutely. So I also wanted to express, you are audience listeners. You are it. Okay. We love you guys so much, especially the people that join and watch the show after it's broadcast live. But those of you that join us live, you're our core. Please consider sharing the show. Now, what does that mean? Do I expect you to go onto your Facebook page and put some big unsolicited, endorsement? Yeah, I mean, of course, that's kind of what I want you to do. But really what would be nice is just inside of Rumble, hit the little retweet, like repost button and just repost. If you're in YouTube, just hit repost onto your little page.
Repost to all contacts.
Yeah, repost to all contacts. Just hit repost and don't forget, of course, the thumbs up. Little things like that done daily, like compound interest, will get us into the algorithm and will help us to attract more listeners. So the best thing you can do, share the show, hit repost, hit like. That would be a huge benefit to us to help to spread the Peasants Perspective. Because honestly and truly, I mean, who really wants to watch Joe and Mika every morning? I mean, I watch the clips so you don't have to, right? So Donald Trump, we're going to leave on this before we head into private. I Actually, we're going to leave on two clips before we head into private. These are both from Donald Trump's speech at the Bible Museum. And this one, he talked about Representative Kaine, who we were very quick to play on the show, talking about how your rights, is problematic, saying they come from the creator. Well, Donald Trump feels differently, and there's a new regime in town.
Good things happen for our country. It's amazing the way it seems to work that way. And under the Trump administration, we're defending our rights and restoring our identity as a nation under God. We are one nation under God, and we always will. The need for this commission has never been more clear than it was last week when the ineffectual senator from Virginia, a man named Tim Kaine, stated that the notion our rights come from our creator is, quote, extremely troubling to him. Very troubling, isn't it troubling? Isn't it terrible, though? How he would say something like that, and advocated really by a totalitarian regime. This is what they say. But as everyone in this room understands, it is tyrants who are denying our rights and the rights that come from God. And it's this Declaration of Independence. We're endowed by our Creator with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The senator from Virginia should be ashamed of himself for many things. For many things. For things even beyond that. But in his own way, nothing's more important than those words. They were terrible words. As president, I will always defend our nation's glorious heritage, and we will protect the Judeo-Christian principles of our founding, and we will protect them with vigor. We have to bring back religion in America, bring it back stronger than ever before as our country grows stronger and stronger. Our country is now.
One of the things with Donald Trump, and I almost get emotional thinking about this, but if you can get the big things right, the little things will work themselves out. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump is unique from our previous politicians. He means what he says, right? He'll use the big stick. Clearly, he'll toast a boat of drug dealers in the Caribbean. he'll smoke Soleimani. I mean, he'll use the big stick. Don't worry. But his underlying motive is peace and to make the dying stop, right? The Judeo-Christian ethic that we're all created equal, that we're all loved by our Creator in some unique way, right? Do you have to deal with evil? Yes. Is there real evil out there? Yeah. Right. And is it going to have to be mitigated? Yep. That's what the big stick's for. But if you get the big things right, the future will be brighter when people self-govern. Mm-hmm. And the thing that Christianity does is it gives you the tools of self-governance. Mm-hmm. It gives you the value system that says, I'm not going to do to someone else what I don't expect them to probably do back to me. As Doug said earlier in the show, don't become the thing you hate. Mm-hmm. That is what I am saying when I say that, is do unto others as they'd have you do unto you. Don't become the very thing you hate. When someone is slapping you on the right cheek, don't turn around and say, oh, now I have a right to slap you on the right cheek. Turn the other also. Right? Don't become the thing you hate. Doesn't mean that you don't fix real problems, right? But don't engineer and fix problems that aren't real problems.
All right.
Learn the difference. And that's what Christianity and the Judeo-Christian ethic will bring you. And Donald Trump goes on to say this. And again, like I said, if you can get the big things right, it's my belief a lot of the little things will take care of themselves. He says this about our country getting stronger because of our faith.
When faith gets weaker, our country seems to get weaker. When faith gets stronger, as it is right now, we're having a very good period of time. After some rough years, good things happen for our country. It's amazing the way it seems to work that way.
During this event, the director of housing and urban development was with them, and he's a former pastor. And one of the things he got up with Donald Trump standing next to him said, he says, what if 1 million Americans prayed every day between now and next July 4th for America? What if every day 1 million Americans supplicated to God for our nation? Mm-hmm. How powerful would that be? And it was like, this is so not something Barack Obama would have done. Or Joe Biden. We're all created equal in the image of the thing. He couldn't even say it. He couldn't even say it, right? As opposed to Donald Trump, who's like, our nation will heal when we bring God back. Now, having said all that, at the end of the day, what has to be done more than anything, where's this clip? All my Here we go. No, where'd it go? Sorry, guys. I had a clip and then it disappeared. And now it's gone. All right. Well, Donald Trump said, woke is dead. So it was a 10-second clip. No big deal. All right, guys, it's time for us to jump over to private. On the private side, we are going to be talking about the two decisions from the Supreme Court yesterday. We'll be hearing from Julie Kelly. We'll be hearing some more from Amy Coney Barrett as she fires back at
Ketanji
Brown Jackson. No, she's going to be talking about the Supreme Court decisions. Now, they don't make them in a vacuum, and they're not trying to, make it for Trump or against Trump. They're making decisions that they believe presidents and executive branch will be held to generations from now. Mm-hmm. And then we're also going to be hearing about Scott Bessent threatening to punch Bill Pulte in the effing face and how this is now the second time that Scott Bessent has been involved with a clash with another cabinet member, as when he punched Elon Musk in the eye, allegedly gave Elon a black eye.
That was Scott Bessent?
Scott Bessent. Now, Elon said it was his son, right? But the rumor is it was Scott Bessent, right? So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to learn about the Federal Reserve and how they've had a little bit of overstep and some of the things that are being done to rein them in. So join us over on the private side, and we'll be watching those 4 videos. And before we go, do we have a last shameless ad to read? I mean, I feel like I can't do it.
No, we're going to need 1 more minute.
1 more minute. Well, then let's do this. Let's listen to Julie Kelly. Let's listen to Julie Kelly talk about the Supreme Court decisions and what it means for us upcoming. So this is her calling in on the War Room.
Both of these decisions by the Supreme Court today do have impacts on pending bigger matters before the lower court, and we can talk about that, but we might as well start with this immigration decision. I thought, and I continue to read through it, but the concurrence by Justice Brett Kavanaugh is very strong. It's very impressive because he is not pulling any punches. He makes very clear that we have a crisis of illegal immigrants in this country, especially in the Los Angeles area, that leaves law enforcement and the federal government with few choices but to conduct these sort of raids at locations where illegals are known to hang out. And so it was very strong, but I would like to read one passage if I can before you have it, or unless you have a question about how I think Justice Kavanaugh is signaling what the court might do in the Alien Enemies Act litigation that's still ongoing.
Go ahead, ma'am.
So what Kavanaugh writes today, and this is the Alien Enemies Act, this is the proclamation that the president signed in March that ordered the immediate removal of illegal Venezuelans tied to Tren de Aragua, calling it a foreign terror organization. As you and I have talked about, this was the infamous case that went before Judge Jeb Bossberg, where he made that infamous oral order, he said, to turn planes around and return those illegal Venezuelans who had been deported. We just got a decision in the Fifth Circuit, basically upholding the idea, and this was a 2-1 decision. This was what the Supreme Court sent back to the Fifth Circuit, asking them to review, the use of this Alien Enemies Act and all of these temporary restraining orders that have been handed down by other judges, halting the deportation of these illegal Venezuelans under the AE Act. And the 2-1 decision, basically, this court saying, the appellate court saying, there is no predatory incursion, there is no invasion, therefore the president cannot invoke the Alien Enemies Act. Well, this will eventually get back to the Supreme Court, and here's what Justice Kavanaugh said. The judiciary does not set immigration policy or decide enforcement priorities. It should come as no surprise that some administrations may be more laissez-faire in enforcing immigration law and other administrations more strict. Article 3 judges may have their views on which policy approach is better or fairer, but judges are not appointed to make those policy calls. We merely ensure that the executive branch acts within the confines of the Constitution and federal statute. So he is, I think, sort of signaling, as the court did before in many judges, something like the Alien Enemies Act and something like this as well is not up for court review. But this is basically under the purview of the executive branch. So I pulled that out. I thought that was an interesting.
It's not
so
up for
both
court
of
review.
these decisions by
Foreign policy and immigration law are not adjudicatable. It is clearly in Article 2 power, right? That is something that I think, again, Amy Coney Barrett and the others, the unique makeup of the court when Trump appointed Gorsuch and Barrett, and Kavanaugh, this is what he was looking for. Justices who believe in a strong executive and believe in separation of powers. Right. So I've been critical of Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh both on multiple occasions, but on this matter, they seem pretty concise. Strong executive and separation of powers. They don't seem to overlap. Whereas you've got Ketanji Brown Jackson and you've got Kagan, and they're like all about, stomping basically judicial supremacy. All right. What do we got, Ron?
Well, let me tell you. How about let's just do a Rumble Premium ad here?
Oh, we got a Rumble Premium, right? Right before we go to private, of course.
Yeah. So you probably noticed Rumble is growing fast and it's not slowing down. They're building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech. And now there's Rumble Premium, an easy way to upgrade your experience. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform, no pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content you came for. Plus, Premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scene drops, and more of your favorite creators. Right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription. Just go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO at checkout. That's rumble.com/premium, promo code STUDIO. No ads, more freedom and content you actually care about. That's the deal.
Woohoo! Get yourself some Rumble Premium. And don't forget to like the show and repost the show. Just right inside of Rumble. Just hit that repost button. It don't hurt nothing. It's free. Helps us a lot. All right, guys, that's it for us today. We're jumping over to private. We're going to be hearing about the Scott Bessent and Polte blow up. The I'm going to punch you in the face moment. And then we're going to hear a little bit more from Justice Amy Coney Barrett. It's not very often that we get to hear from Supreme Court justices. And then, of course, we'll have a little screed on the Federal Reserve because, of course, they deserve all the criticism.